Chase Elliott's pit crew doesn't get a wheel tight during a pit stop, has Elliott back up to tighten it, but he doesn't back up all the way, and the team is penalized. Freddie.
I don't know how you spot on this unless you were just openly cheering against Chase Elliott, which I don't think anybody does. He's the most popular driver in the series. But I mean, this probably cost him the race. Once the five played a different strategy than everybody. He kind of went back to his strategy from last year where he just pit at the stage breaks and was good enough to drive back to the lead. And they weren't that good yesterday. They were fast, but they weren't able to drive back to the field like they were last year. So the 9 kind of had control of the race. He was, if he comes off of pit road first there at the end of the stage, at the end of stage 2, if he cycled back to the lead at the end of stage 2, I think he wins the race. But unfortunately, they made the mistake. They had it back in the box. We saw this as 2 tire issues for the Hendrick Motorsports guys. The 5 lost his tire. Sounds like Chase would have probably lost his tire if he didn't back up. So tough day for them. They probably gave up an opportunity to win the race.
TJ.
Yeah, I mean, you were out of the race, so it gained me a spot. So I was, I'm spot off for another tire issue. Kudos to them guys for catching it, even though they got a penalty, because it could have been a lot worse. You could have got off pit road and it come off halfway around the track or whatever, and it could have been a lot worse. But, spot off for that. It did gain us a spot, though. So,
well, it's spot on. Like you're talking about, good for them. They caught it. I think Chase came back to finish in the top 10. I think he was like 7th or 8th. But not only that, they catch it. They keep Allen for a month versus Cliff now has got the stupidest suspension in the history of NASCAR, being crew chief suspended for 4 weeks.
So we talked about this earlier. I feel like on Twitter there's a big conversation around the stiffness of the penalties and what is fair and what is right so that teams will learn and not make the mistakes again. I still go back to a points penalty.
Obviously, nothing's really changed. I mean, it's gotten a little bit better, but you still see issues every week. I just think that if you give them a points penalty and it's reoccurring, so you get a 10-point penalty the first time it happens, and then it's a 25-point penalty if it happens again, and then maybe a 50, whatever it is. But taking the crew chief away, we've talked about this on here for years, like, he's not really going anywhere. He's just not on the pit box. He's still involved with calling the race, whether it's from his bus or whether it's from a control center at your shop. He's still there essentially calling the race with, from a remote location. So losing the crew chief, really, you're losing the tire. The thing I don't understand, we go back to this before, is the 8-team tire changers are the ones, making these mistakes. So now we're going to suspend them guys and bring in the guys that quote unquote, weren't good enough to do that job in the first place to do it. And now you've got less experienced guys changing the tires or guys that weren't good enough. So you're almost promoting this to happen again. I think it just needs to be just hammer with points penalties, and they'll start making sure the damn tires are on there.
I don't, the crew chief part, I question a little bit, but I don't mind the guy putting it on has something to do with it. So that I can understand a little bit.
Can we at least suspend the right guy, though? Like the 11 team?
Yeah. It needs to be the guy that's doing it,
Don't suspend the guy that's listed on the roster. Suspend the guy that changed the damn tire.
Yeah, it needs to be, it needs to be the person changing it. But I also agree with...
But you just said that, like...
I don't think it should be...
If they're making the mistake, then you're bringing in somebody who's less experienced.
The thing you can look at is why are they coming off? Why are they coming off? Because you're trying to have a lightning fast pit.
So Tony mentioned this a little bit on the broadcast, which he did a great job, by the way, filling in for Clint, or not filling in for Clint, but just in general. I think that I don't know if it's their routine or the not getting the call at the right time. But I feel like it's the same thing over and over.
The pressure to be fast is outweighing the pressure to get it right. And that's what's happening. They're either dropping the jack too fast and the wheel's not all the way tight, or the guy's hitting the lug and it's not getting all the way tight, or the nut falls out of the gun and he doesn't realize it because he's trying to go so fast. It's just the pressure of being fast is outweighing the pressure of doing it right. And that's what you've got to start hammering these teams, because it's not going to get any better until you penalize them. And right now, losing your crew chief, yes, it sucks, but it's not the end of the world penalty-wise. I don't think you're going to see a huge drop in performance from the 5-car over the next 4 weeks when we go back racing, because Cliff's not, quote-unquote, there on the box. So
they've got a pretty good training facility there.
Yeah, it's not...
But, honestly, though, that it'll hurt them a little bit on pit road. It's not going to obviously be the best, but... I agree. I still think you get the guy that did it because number one, he made the mistake first of all, and to keep this from happening, it needs to hurt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're gonna take out a guy. You know, to me, I like a Madden guy. You're taking out a guy that's probably a high or mid 90s, and you're gonna replace him with a low 90s guy who's pretty dang good still.
We've got exciting news. OfferPad wants to buy your home. Go to OfferPad.com right now and tell them all about it. You'll receive a cash offer within 24 hours.